spilled like coffee on my hands or something.
Oh no.
Sticky.
Will this guy hear it? Maybe.
I hope so.
Okay, just making sure. Let's see. Let's get this going. Let's get the people going.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. All right, the band is back together.
Are we on the internet?
We're on
so.
the internet. Yeah. Yay. There. See, that's the call that you make.
You guys got that picture. I bought that machine for us to
That's
fix
right.
the crank and everything. That's a more modern one.
Yeah.
I'm going to move it today, so I'll help you guys out. Or I'll help Andrew out, because I know you don't, do any of that. So
Yeah. That's not his department.
I used to do stuff like that, but that thing's like 11,000 pounds.
we have like a
Sends out the
thing
signal.
to wheel it.
Oh, a cart.
Yes, a cart.
Shows you how much manual labor we've done. We can't even say dolly.
Right. Yeah. It's got 4 wheels and it
Yeah.
moves heavy things.
Yeah.
Makes it easier.
That'll work,
Yeah.
right?
Cart.
And we were just kind of rapping here a little bit about our boy Mike O'Hearn.
Oh,
Mike
honey.
O'Tren.
Oh.
That guy's got to be on some SARMs, right?
No. I believe in Mike.
Oh, yeah, sure you do.
I
because you're
believe
living
in
the same
Mike.
goddamn life. That's all. Oh, my God. All you guys got to stick together. You and John Cena and him are all having a big party behind the scenes, I'm sure.
They all hang out and talk about cycles.
Like,
or-
we got him, bro.
Yeah.
They think I eat pizza all the time.
Hey, man, he's always been big. I can't
That's true.
dispute it.
That's true.
Yeah, maybe he takes creatine.
Yeah, I take creatine. Everyone should take creatine.
Maybe he's natty. Maybe it's creatine. I'm not sure. But
Yeah.
he looks amazing, whatever the case is, and he's trying to get down to 220, and so I've been helping him with that. And I was confused because he was like, "Yeah, I wanted to drop to 220," and I thought he meant like he wanted just to like weigh 220, like kind of get to that weight and be that weight for a little while. And I was like, I don't know how that's going to work because like percentage wise, if he's like, I've seen when he gets in really good shape and he'll be still like 240. Maybe even sometimes as heavy as 250 and still be super lean. So I'm like, mathematically, what the hell is going to happen to this guy? He's going to like lose everything. He'll lose muscle and lose fat and lose water. And I don't know how it'll be 220. But then he was like, no, I just want to like, I don't mind if I do, water manipulation to weigh 220. And I was like, I was like, oh, okay, that's different because maybe we could do cardio and sauna and like getting all these weird tricks that George Lockhart did with me. And maybe we can get him to 220.
Oh, yeah. He could probably go from like 230, 232 down to 220 without a problem if he just cuts water.
Yeah.
You guys know how to do all that.
Yeah. And he's still right now, he's still kind of holding like 240, but he's doing 2 hours of cardio every day.
But he's really tall, though.
He is
right?
tall. Yeah. Yeah, I know. And that's the thing too. It's like, his body weight stuff is kind of deceiving, so that is a factor. And Nsima's fairly tall too. I think you're maybe an inch or two taller than me at least, right?
Yeah.
And then you're probably close to the same height as Mike, if he might have an inch on you or so. And that's another factor, when you think about some of these people that we see on the internet and think about how big they are, and you hear the body weight that they weigh. Like Nsima's a heavy guy. I'm a fairly heavy guy. Mike is sometimes he'll weigh like 280. His kind of like quote unquote normal weight will be like 280 if he's just kind of eating, not like eating whatever he wants. He never does that. He never just like, well, he eats what he wants, but he eats very healthy.
He sometimes backs off the cardio too, right?
Yeah. A lot of times he won't do any cardio for months on end. But I think, a really key thing to learn from him, and there's a great thing to learn from bodybuilding too, is bodybuilders aren't on the same diet year round. They're not doing, and the guy that was on the podcast yesterday, he mentioned seasons, having like a season. And you don't really hear that. You don't hear that being coached up that much, but you should have like an in-season, an off-season, maybe even if you're just a regular person walking around. Maybe it's a good idea to go through a bulking phase, go through a cutting phase, and have moments where you do cardio, have moments where you eat less, and have moments where you don't do that shit.
And definitely like there's going to be times of like more and less activity. Like when you're saying that there's times that Mike drops his cardio, I could definitely see, there being a time where, instead of doing 6-7 sessions of jiu-jitsu a week, I'll drop down to 4. And one of the big reasons I've been able to stay so lean right now is because I'm doing so much jiu-jitsu. If I wasn't doing as much as I am right now, I wouldn't be as lean as I am because I don't do any other cardio outside of that. So when you said he does 2 hours of cardio a day, Like I can't imagine I don't know if he just does it on a bike or a treadmill, but I can't imagine doing that. It's a lot of cardio.
He does a lot of times he'll do he's big on the stair climber, stairmaster deal, and then he's also big on treadmill. So I think he kind of goes. I think he mixes it up because 2 hours on a stairmaster would really kill you, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So he probably does a half an hour of the stair stepper. So I know, like, even for a long time, when I first got to know him, he was doing that on an hour just every morning. Like it was like he just. I can't remember. I think he did it after workouts. I think now he splits it up. He's got some stuff at his house.
Yeah.
That he'll do it on, but he just has crazy discipline, and people want to take that away, and they want to just say, oh, he's on shit, and it's hard because he outwardly promotes that he's natural, and so he may actually very well be natural. I don't know his personal life that way. I do know him really well, and I've known him for over 20 years, but I don't know what he does and doesn't do.
Yeah.
And it's just, either way, even if he does take stuff, I mean, whenever he's had anybody go train with him, he almost kicks everyone's ass all the time. I can't really remember or recall there being a time where I was like, oh my God, that guy just whooped up on him. He kills everybody he works out with.
Like you said, like when you watch him lift, it's like everything is controlled. Even when it comes to lifting super heavy loads, he's not over here clanging and banging and just slamming weights around without any control. He has a lot of control when he does that, which is absolutely insane.
The other day, when he posted this video right here, he said, am I doing these deadlifts right?
Wait, is he? How much weight is that?
It's like 4 plates, I think.
Yeah.
It might even be 5.
And that was like a reverse grip.
Yeah, double overhand. Yeah, overhand grip, no straps, no hook grip.
Yeah, one thing I remember when we were down in Venice, you and your brother both were just like, man, you've kind of you've gotten by without any bumps or bruises. It's like we all have something. We all are dealing with something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you haven't had anything. It's just like the longevity of this guy.
He literally hasn't been injured and he's 50 years old, right?
Right. So yeah, it's insane.
And you know what what I would attribute that to is his mindset. Because if you ask Mike if he's ever been hurt, he'll say, well, he's like, I've had some owies. He calls it an owie. You know what I mean?
That's just O'Hearn.
That's
an O'Hearn thing right there.
Like, he goes, I've had a lot of owies, a lot of things that, and it's like, well, with that kind of mindset, of course you've never been hurt, because he's not thinking, oh man, my elbow is really jacked up, or my shoulder, man, I really tore it up. It's all screwed up. He's not thinking I got to take a couple weeks off. He's thinking it's a boo-boo.
Mm-hmm.
And, what do you do with a boo-boo? You put a Band-Aid on it. And so his Band-Aid is to do different exercises.
Exactly.
I brought Ryan Soper down there with me one day as like a ringer, because Mike just wasn't at his strongest, and we squatted the week before, and he and I were going back and forth on some squats. He still kicked my ass. He went up to like 6 plates, or maybe it was 5 plates. He did 5 plates for some reps and stuff, and they were deep squats and stuff, still impressive. And then Ryan Soper was he just got done with a meet, or was getting ready for a meet. So I was like, oh, this would be kind of cool, like if they work out together.
Yeah.
Mike looks Ryan up and down. This is at 4 a.m. He looks him up and down, and we're hanging out by the squat rack, and Mike goes, let's go leg press. Mike knew this was, Mike knew this was a selectorized ringer that we were going to bring into the bunch here.
Yeah. Oh man. That's a lot of weight that they have stacked up on that thing.
Oh yeah. We were leg pressing that day. We shot over to the leg press and loaded that thing up, and Mike wanted you to bring the weight all the way down to the bottom of this, like where it goes to on the leg press. And man, it was brutal. But Ryan hung in there, and Ryan did the same weight, but he did less reps. I think Mike did like a set of 15 or something. Ryan got like a set of 3 or something like that.
Yeah.
Still for man, for Ryan to keep up with him.
Yeah.
It's so dope.
No, if you can catch Mike on anything, then you achieve something. And Mike will go through a whole back workout, and then he'll do we went through a whole chest tricep workout. And then he finished the workout off with doing dips, and he did, set of 10, another set of 10, another set of 10. And he's like, all right, time to like start working out. And he hangs like a couple 45s off his waist, like 3 45s. And does a few more sets of 10.
Yeah.
Never misses reps. Form's never bad. Never misses meals. You know, he said that he attributes a lot of things to, like, he doesn't, you know, he'll fast and he'll mess with different techniques and stuff, but anytime he has a scheduled meal, he doesn't miss it. He always eats it. And he's been doing that since he was, you know, pretty much 14, 15 years old.
It's like 220 at 16. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just the thing to pay attention from Mike is, again, like, people are going to laugh at this, but like, Mike is goals for like when I'm like 50. You know what I mean? Because you don't see, first off, everyone talks about sarcopenia, you know, in men. They're like, oh, we're going to lose a lot of muscle as you get older, and it's bound to happen. And you were just saying the other day, you just don't think he believes that. Like, he doesn't believe that. I feel like he's potentially stronger now than when he was in his 30s. Do you know, or what do you think?
I would say that in a lot of ways he is stronger because like he's probably more well-rounded now. He's definitely in better shape. I mean, he looks better. I mean, you go back and look at some of the older pictures of him.
Yeah.
And he's just not nearly in the shape that he's in now. So he's more well-rounded in terms of his physique, and he has more strength in some different areas. Now, he used to be able to bench more, and he used to be able to like squat more, and he used to be able to like deadlift more. But that's pretty one-dimensional, right?
Yeah.
That's like one particular style of lifting. That's powerlifting, and he loves powerlifting. But to be able to get on a seated military press and do behind the neck presses with like 3 plates, and then to be able to go over to the incline bench and be able to press 5 plates, and be able to lay down on a flat bench and reverse grip 5 plates, and so on, right? It just the list of things, it just goes on and on. He's just absolutely it's amazing what he's done, but it's all been through consistency, I guess, is kind of the main point. And Mike does something better than a lot of he does something better than what most people are able to do, and that's just to change goals, shift gears here and there, and have times where he's like, you know what, I'm just going to get as big as I can, and he'll get fat. And so, you know, while we're looking at him, we're still thinking he's like big and lean. For him, he would still feel fat. So it wouldn't be any different than anyone who's listening to this show or any of us on this podcast today. It wouldn't be any different than any of us chubbing out and gaining 15 pounds of, maybe gaining, I don't know, 10 pounds of muscle and 10 pounds of fat. We would still feel like we're kind of chubbing out too, right? And but he has the discipline and the dedication to understand that is for something further down the road. That's for something in the future, and that takes a lot of guts to do that. That's not an easy thing to do.
It's not, especially in an industry like this where, you know, everyone wants you to be super lean all the time. I think the biggest thing to take away from him, though, is that, like, no matter what you may think of him, whether you think he's like natural, whether you think he's not, just look at what he does. Like, look at his consistency, like you mentioned, look at his discipline, look at how long he's been doing it. And he's had patience doing all of this. He's just been consistently doing it day in and day out without skipping a day. Even Stan Efferding, like, when he made that video, like, fuck Mike O'Hearn, right? He was talking about the consistency and the dedication to what he does. It's just like, no matter what you think, take that away and apply that to yourself. And with whatever it is you're doing, you'll get to a pretty decent place.
So according to this post, it says that's him at 21 years old.
Yeah. And that muscle maturity at 21, that's absolutely insane.
Okay.
And then also the size, you know, like what he weighs right there. That's the thing. It's like, that would be one thing if he weighed 220, 210, but he's probably 250 or 240, you know?
So 236 right there on the
There
screen.
you go.
Think about this, though. 236 at 21 right now, what? He pretty much looks close to the same. Yeah, more density and muscle tissue, but it's not like, you know, it's not like he's that much bigger.
Right. Yeah, Stan Efferding attributes Mike O'Hearn with the worst before and after picture of all time. Because there's pictures of Mike O'Hearn at like 16 where he's like weighs 240 and he's pretty jacked.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Stan's like he's got the worst progression in the history of the sport.
Yeah.
You know?
I think what Nsima said about, you know, his mindset, he probably actually truly does not believe that, you know, as he gets older, he's going to deteriorate. Because, I mean, hopefully it's, I don't think I brought it up, but there has been studies where like they'll take a group of like elderly people and like, hey, we're going to pretend like it was 30, 40 years ago.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And so like they change like the TV shows on the TV, all in like magazines, newspapers. It's like, we just want you to reminisce and talk about everything that happened 40 years ago. And like their blood markers got better. Like they walked in with like canes and stuff. And then by the time they were done, they're playing like flag football. Yeah. And it was just like, whoa, what happened? It's like they took their mind there. So I think that's that probably has a lot to do with O'Hearn.
Think about all the noises that you start to make as you get older, just to get up off the couch. You're like, "Rrr," you know, and like you're like, I remember my dad doing that. Like, why am I doing that? Like,
Yeah.
I don't need to make a grunt to get off the couch. You know,
Right.
it's like, am I losing my mind here? But it's yeah, it seeps into your system, and you don't even realize, you know, what a bitch you turn into. You know? But Mike he's super positive, and you know, when you train with him, he'll make fun of you, and he'll talk a lot of trash and stuff. But he's he'll avoid the negativity. You know, if you say something that's like, you know, over the top, I've seen him kind of turn away from it. I think that he has like a force field around it. He's like, I can't mess with that. That's gonna mess up my goals, and I'm not gonna be part of that.
Yeah, no, it just makes a lot of sense, you know, with everything that he's doing. Even like I've mentioned this on episodes in the past too, you know, in times where like you can't really lift as much, you don't feel as good. I think for a lot of people too, like when you're not, you know, doing something that allows you to be super active, and you're not, I guess, being like the way that Mike is consistent with that, then there allows a lot of dark thoughts can come in. A lot of disbelief in whatever it is that you're doing can come in. And that would, I believe right now, with the way my mind is, if I wasn't able to do some of the things I do, I can't be as positive as I typically am. And if you imagine like he's been doing that all his life, it makes sense why he blocks that stuff off. You're not going to take him off his path. It's going to take a lot to do that.
You know, people are listening and like, come on, you really think he's natural? You know, I know people are always kind of asking that question. That's what always hovers. That's what always looms over top of. I mean, I can say that I've never seen anybody that looks like that hasn't been in question.
Yeah.
You know, and I've never seen anybody like that I didn't pretty much automatically assume they're on stuff. So even though he's my friend, and even though we're close, and even though we know each other, I automatically assume he takes them. But it doesn't take away anything that the guy's ever done. He's still put in a body of work that is pretty much unmatched by anybody else.
Yeah.
And there's really not much anyone can do about that, regardless of whether you think he's on something or not on something. And it's hard to say that as a friend, because it's like, why would I think a friend would be lying? You know, but I think that people maybe have their reasons. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you guys joked about the whole back and forth thing, but on I think both his channel and our channel, you guys talk about how you were just joking that whole time, and it kind of just got spun out of control.
Yeah.
But it was cool that you guys did that, because I think a lot of people were like, wait, like, is that real? Is that not real?
Yeah.
Like anytime like the two of you would show up at an expo, like you could just kind of like see people like eyeballing, looking around, like, are they gonna, like, what's gonna happen?
Some tension here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Reddit had a good time with that one. I saw, like, you know, Reddit had a blast with that. They were taking that seriously.
Crazy.
Well, Mike also has done a lot of martial arts and stuff too, so I don't know what the hell would be coming out of his body, you know, and I don't know what the hell he would be doing.
That's fine.
It probably wouldn't be good.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't end well for me.
You have an Nsima now, so
That's
you're
true.
okay.
I'd be like, get him, and then who
Both
knows what would happen.
Mike and I would choke you out.
Yeah. One guy rips my ankle off, and the other guy chokes me out.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll be fine.
Anyway, he's trying to get to 220, and he's got like 2 more days to do it. I think he's still like 236 or something, but he'll get there. We'll get him there. We got him doing some water manipulation stuff, and we'll kind of see what happens. Anyway, you know, I kind of mentioned kind of in the mix of some of that, you know, changing goals, and then Nsima and I were talking about how you got to, you know, you change goals. Like you do something for a while, you throw your hat into it, you try it out, and even like there are cases where sometimes you do something and it doesn't work out the way that you thought, or doesn't work out the way that you wanted, and you may have even somewhat failed at it. Didn't just go your way. And then of course you're going to automatically change course from there. But that's not even what we're talking about. It's more like you try something out for a while, you get some of the result out of it that you wanted, and then you move away from it and maybe try something else. Or you kind of see how difficult something is, you get some of the reward out of it, and you're like, the price that it's going to cost to go this extra mile is now going to take 3 times the amount of time, since I've already come a long way. To go 1 more mile is going to take me, 4 or 5 years. And I don't know if I really care to spend that amount of time on that. I'd rather kind of move into something else. The other thing that happens too is just sometimes we have ADHD with our like exercise and with the things that we like to do, and so sometimes you're like, oh, I want to try that. Oh,
Yeah.
that looks cool. I want to try that. And so you try some different things. And we were talking specifically about Nsima, going from bodybuilding to powerlifting, and then into then into jiu-jitsu. And it's not like you did bodybuilding and you felt like, oh man, like that's as far as I could ever take that. I'm out. And it's not like you were a failure at it. You were good at it, and you could still be very good at it.
Mm-hmm.
But you probably just wanted something a little different. Maybe you got a little bored of some of the dieting, and you ended up kind of finding powerlifting. How did you kind of get into that progression of going from bodybuilding into powerlifting?
Yeah, so I started doing like when I was focusing on bodybuilding and lifting for bodybuilding, I was already doing a lot of the big three already in terms of gaining strength so I could get bigger. So I competed in 2013 and 2015, and I managed to get to Worlds in 15. I was a pro at that point already. And I got top 5 in the heavyweights, which was really, really dope at my first, hitting for Worlds the first time. After that, I came to ST, and then obviously training with everyone here got me wanting to, compete in powerlifting. So I was still doing powerlifting to just help me get bigger, because I knew that if I could get stronger, I could ideally put on more muscle tissue. And then from there, I did record breakers, and that was awesome. But after record breakers for a while, I was training and it was still cool, but I was like, I want to move more. I want to do something that allows me to use my body. And I was trying to figure out what exactly is it that I could figure out. And then that's when I found jujitsu. But, I still have like the love of lifting. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like a lot of people or even myself at the time when I was focusing on bodybuilding, I think I was focused too much on bodybuilding rather than just enjoying the process of lifting every single day. And right now, I just love lifting and doing different things every single day with lifting. But when it comes to the transition between all of those, it was just, it kind of went back to my athletic background of playing soccer. You know what I mean? I was moving a lot, and I wasn't able to do all of that while doing powerlifting and while doing bodybuilding. But jujitsu allowed me to literally mix everything together while not really having to totally pull something back. Like, I don't have to stop doing powerlifting. I don't have to stop doing or training like bodybuilding, but I can still do all of that and use my body in the way I want to use it with jujitsu. So it was just it was a natural progression, I guess.
I think it's cool that you didn't get stuck. Like a lot of people get stuck. Like you could, you squatted, around 630 pounds and deadlifted 755, and it's like you could have said, okay, that's it, and you think you missed a 402 bench.
Yeah.
You could have said, you know what, that, I could do better, because the lifts that you did make in that meet, you smashed them. They were fairly easy from what I remember. So you could have, most power lifters would be like, okay, 650 next meet or 660 on the squat, 420 bench and a, maybe an 800-pound pull. And you could have got stuck in that. You get stuck in the gears of the grinder, and then you're, again, it's like it may have taken you just a few months to really make a lot of great progress in powerlifting, because maybe you powerlifted before and you did strength training and you mentioned you did the big three, but maybe you didn't do it this way, and maybe you didn't do it, with some other lifters.
Focus.
Yeah, focus. You didn't make it a main focus and have other lifters around that might tell you about your form or different training techniques and so on. But I think that sometimes it can end up being a mistake when you get so focused in and so honed in on the numbers, and that's all you're obsessed about all the time. You also came across like an injury or two, right? With like your knee. So some things like set you back, and maybe those things set you on a different path as well, right?
Yeah, the meniscus issue in my left knee. I mean, I've always had issues with my knee since I was young, and I had Osgood slaughter that thing. So I had a meniscus issue. I had to get surgery on my left knee for them to scrape out. I think it was something called a bucket handle tear in my meniscus. So they scraped that out. I was back to lifting in about 7 or 8 weeks. I was able to do upper body stuff right afterwards. But like nowadays, I always feel something small in my knee when I squat really heavy. And I don't think that's what made me look for jujitsu. I was already trying to think of something to do like that'll allow me to do some fun cardio before that. So that's how I came across jujitsu there. But yeah, when as far as jujitsu is concerned, like when I went into my first class and I saw like what people were doing, I immediately just wanted to dive in somehow. I only started like with 2 days a week, But seeing how I was getting my butt beat like literally every day of training by guys so much smaller than me, I knew something that I could
They
really.
were tapping you out.
They were tapping me out. Like, yeah, they were
How
tapping
much
me
do
out.
they weigh?
I mean, I always mentioned this, but there was this 150-pound black belt who tapped me out 6 times in 6 minutes. I was getting tapped out by some
He
smaller.
must have loved it.
Oh, he
right?
didn't show he loved it. His name's Nate, and he's super stoic. So the whole time, he literally had no expression on his face. He wasn't, he was just like, he was
He's
just
a black
killing
belt.
me. Yeah,
he should
yeah.
he should kill you. Your
Yeah.
white belt, and not only your white belt, it's like your first couple weeks there.
Yeah.
Should destroy you.
I no, you're right. But I think Nate also wanted to prove a point to me. He really did. Because I never had an ego or anything, but when someone sees a big guy, they're
Yeah.
better at jujitsu, they generally want to be like, I can kick your ass.
Yeah, they want to show you, hey, like it doesn't really matter how big and strong you are. This is a skill.
It's yeah,
and
it really is.
and if you're coming into here, then and you want to be here for the long haul, you better learn it.
Mhm.
Otherwise, this is what every day is going to feel like and look like.
Exactly. But the thing is, when I started jujitsu, I have that same fire with jujitsu now that I did when I was competing in bodybuilding, when I was competing in powerlifting. It's like, and when I was playing soccer, like when I played soccer in college, my goal was to go towards and become a pro athlete. And for a while, that was a possibility until I got injured. And then I got injured, I had to stop doing that. But now at jujitsu, it's like I'm addicted to that sport. I know I want to get close to the top. I know I want to reach that peak. I know it's going to take a long time, but it's a new goal, and I want to do all of that while being really strong and really big. I want to try and meld all those things together, and right now it's working pretty well.
In the heavyweight class, is there a limit?
Ultra heavyweight. The ultra heavyweights are just 220 and above. Just 220 and above.
Oh, and so that's what you're in, and you can weigh whatever you want.
You can weigh 320. The guy who beat me at Pans, Jason Shirley, was 320, former NFL linebacker. And the funny thing is, I think I was the second or third lightest in my weight class at 245. All the other guys were pretty dang heavy. So, there's a lot of big boys in the ultra heavyweight class.
Where do you think the you can draw the line? Where does it become a diminishing return? If somebody's rolling in their 450, obviously
if they're 450 and
gassed,
7 feet,
yeah,
that's the thing. I don't think there's a diminishing return, because if you look at Jason, who's 6'7", 320, right?
Yeah,
it makes sense for him to hold that much weight. He could probably get to 300, but it just depends on how big you are, how tall you are. So
What does Chad weigh? He's probably 300.
300.
Yeah.
Chad's a 300.
He lost
He's
a lot of weight.
Yeah, he's a solid 300 too. You know what I mean? And he can move well. He's athletic. So it was funny when I saw Chad over at Pans. We were
Chad
talking
Wesley
afterwards.
Smith, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. That's who we're talking about.
Chad Wesley Smith. He was saying that he's done so much competition in so many other sports, but nothing made him as it wasn't nervous, but as psyched up as competing in jiu-jitsu did. And it's probably just because of the person-to-person competition you have. This guy could take me out. You know what I mean? It's it's a martial art. So
yeah, there's been people that have written about stuff like this in the past. There's a book called Blood in the Cage. Oh man, I'm having trouble remembering the name of it will come to me at some point. Anyway, Blood in the Cage talks about how all sport is surrounded by individual. They'll say individual battles, and if we want to take battle, we can say individual fight. In football, there's 5 offensive and 5 defensive linemen basically most of the time, depending on what defenses or whatever. But for the most part, there's 4 or 5 on every play, and there's individual fights going on. You got the tackle and the guard and so on, and they're fighting each other, right? The interesting part about that is there's nothing more exciting than watching a one-on-one competition of 2 people battling each other and 2 people having an actual physical fight where there's less rules. Football, there's a lot of rules, so it starts to get a little confusing. Now, the things are fun, but it's it's almost like you're putting a mask on what we're designed to do, because now we got a ball and you're trying to claim territory, and you can look in history and wars are fought over territories, and wars are fought over principles, and I'm going to invade your space, and right. And we take fighting. It's kind of the similar thing. We're going to try to stand our ground right here, and we're going to battle it out right here, and we're going to see who's the best.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very clear cut. It's not it's not a and I guess like racing and stuff like that would be similar, like where you run against somebody or swim against somebody or bicycle against somebody or something like that. It's like I'm going against you and we're going to see who's the fastest. And in this case, you're going against somebody and you're seeing who is and we don't really get that same competition in powerlifting. We don't really see it that often, but powerlifting is an individual sport. But unfortunately, like it's on the rare occasion where it happens, where it's like really a battle at the end, where it comes down to that last deadlift for somebody to win the meet, or where it really is even seen as like a one-on-one competition because there's so many other people competing. In this case, you got one person on one side of the mat, and another person on the other side of the mat. It's very clear cut. In Blood in the Cage, they mentioned that you can have an NFL football game going on. Millions and millions of dollars are spent on the players that are on the field. There's 11 on each side. There's 22 players, and you stack up the amount of money that would be. It would be astronomical. Two guys could be in the crowd and have a fight, and now where does all the attention go?
Yeah.
Now you could probably say the same thing at a UFC fight. If there's a fight in the crowd, people are going to pay attention to the amateurs because it's the unknown that we kind of like to see, like what's going to happen when these two people square off. But that's a little bit more barbaric and a little bit more archaic. And it's like, well, if one guy's bigger and stronger, he's probably just going to kill the other guy. Or if somebody's really skilled, they're going to just destroy the other guy.
Yeah.
And it kind of takes out the real element of sport, and MMA has come so far where now you hear the crowd cheering for like jiu-jitsu reversals and wrestling reversals and stuff. And, Joe Rogan and a lot of these people have done a great job of explaining the sport to people so they can understand it. Pat Miletich, there you go. That's who it is. Blood in the Cage. Yeah. Pat Miletich, one of the original people to like actually form together mixed martial arts. Really crazy. The guy that wrote this book, when he goes to Pat Miletich's gym, I think in Iowa, could be butchering some of this, but when he goes to his gym, they invite him into the ring. They say, "Hey, get in the ring." And the guy's like, "Okay, this is just a journalist, not a fighter or anything." And they're like, "We're gonna break your nose." And he's like, "What?"
Oh shit.
He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "That's you're in my gym. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna break your nose." He's like, "No, man. Like, I don't want my nose broken." They're like, "We don't care what you want. Like, you want to write about this sport. You need to know about this sport. Pretty much everyone in here has been clocked in the nose or had their nose broken." He's like, "That's what we're gonna do." And I don't remember the outcome of it. I think the guy just got out of the ring and they let him off the hook. But
I would have crapped myself.
yeah. They're like, "Yeah, we're gonna break your face, buddy. Because you need to experience this shit."
Yeah. Thanks, Ashley, for pointing out the author of that one. The listener on the live stream hooked it up.
Nice.
Yeah.
But the thing about like setting up goals in terms of whatever your fitness journey is, and the cool thing about powerlifting is this. I think that it's one of the more healthy ways in terms of competition, and in terms of getting yourself towards your physical goal, to have a goal to compete. Because when somebody thinks about, I've been like approached in the past many times where someone's like, "I want to get in shape, I want to do a show," right? But sometimes doing the show isn't actually like getting stage lean, or doing a show isn't really that healthy. And a lot of times you'll see first-time competitors rebound, and they rebound hard. Like they'll get lean and they'll get in shape, and then when they start getting all that weight back, they gain a lot of fat back. But when you do powerlifting, you can get leaner and you can get stronger over time, and then it'll give you a goal in terms of, I have to do this competition. It'll give you something to drive yourself towards. That's why I think powerlifting is kind of special in that case, because even if you're not always competing against somebody else, or sometimes you are competing against somebody in your weight class, it's a really great form of fitness to get yourself in shape and have a competitive goal. Even jiu-jitsu can fall in line with that too, because you're doing all this cardio work. It is a form of resistance training because you're working against an opponent. But you can spar at 100% because your opponent isn't going to punch you at 100%. They're going to choke. You can tap. They're going to pull you in an armbar. You can tap. You can do all this at 100% and be perfectly safe. And even at competition, it's relatively safe as a form of fitness. So
you might get out of there and you might be kind of sore.
Yeah. But chances are you're not going to break something.
Yeah, you should be okay-ish, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting with powerlifting how you're mentioning like health and powerlifting. They seem like almost polar opposites from where I came from. If anybody's watched the West Side versus the World movie, you would have a good sense of like the way powerlifting used to be. and there's a lot of unhealthy practices, and there's a lot of overusage of PEDs, and a lot of overeating, and just poor nutrition, poor sleep. It's just a general lack of knowledge on what those other things, what those other aspects of your lifestyle can do for you when you step foot on the platform. You know, sleeping better and eating better, and just living better and being just cleaner with everything could really help. And there's been guys who have practiced it. There's been guys who have done it at a high level and were able to get away from the sport and still be healthy. But a lot of them were, just kind of overdoing it. But you're 100% correct. Powerlifting can be done very healthy, and furthermore, you can. I mean, there's so many different ways to train, but you can go in the gym, and you can do. You can train very slowly, right? You can do tempo work. You can do 5x5s with tempo work and improve for a competition. What other sport can you train slowly for? You can't really train slowly for tennis or golf or jiu-jitsu. I mean, I'm sure like in jiu-jitsu, you got drills and you got certain things like we're going to agree, like we're going 50%, we're going slow. Mark, no, you're still messing that up, dude. No, it's this way.
Yeah.
And we're going to walk through it slowly, right? And then we're going to go through faster paces. But in powerlifting, you can kind of, there's so many different variations of how you can lift, the style of lifting that you can do. You can do speed stuff, and you can really, sometimes wear out your joints really quickly.
Yeah.
Or you can choose to go a slower route, or there's so many different options. But I think when we had James Fitzgerald on the podcast the other day, we were kind of talking about how do we ride that line, between we need to push really far, and we obviously need to push far enough so that we learn where to hold back on, because if you never push far enough, you'll never even learn where your limit is. So you do have to go to a limit, or at least scratch it or get close to it. But in my opinion, and I actually have never done this because I'm not smart enough and I love to like just go nuts, you can do a lot of 5x5 stuff. You can do a lot of 4 sets of 6 and sets of 3 and even sets of 1 that are done at an expression. Well, I have done this before. You can do heavy singles that are expressed in a way where someone goes, holy crap, dude, that looked really easy. And you're like, yeah, that's my opener, my second attempt in the meet. And they're like, really? Wow, you should use a lot more weight. But powerlifting can be done that way. And not only can it be done that way, it should be done that way.
Yeah. No, a lot of people are already doing it. That's just sub-maximal
Nowadays,
training.
you're seeing it more, yeah.
Nowadays, yeah. Like, you can gain you can gain strength actually forever with sub-maximal training without always having to touch your max. But mistake that even I made was I was like touching heavy singles.
You get too excited. It's
you
too
get
fun.
too excited. You're like, I feel great today.
I want 7 plates.
So it's really, I don't know why you wouldn't be able to do powerlifting in a healthy way.
How do you control that with your clients? Do they probably get real antsy, and you're like, look, man, I know this sounds weird, but we're not going to go over 400 pounds and you're going to pull 550. And they're like, and maybe they do go a little heavier, like for one lift at one particular time.
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't know, but it's the assistance exercises. It's how you're doing the deadlifts. It's also, maybe you're having them doing, sumo deadlifts with a slight pause as they lift the weight up off the ground, right?
Yeah. So there's like, there's pause deadlifts, there's deadlifts with controlled eccentrics. But the big thing is that when I program for literally everybody, I program with percentages, but I also use RPE. You know what RPE is, rate of perceived exertion. So I don't like.
So you have 2 gauges, basically. You have a percentage, 80%, but I also want to know, what did that 80% feel like? Did it feel like a 7, 8, 9, or 10? Because I want it to feel like a 7. And if it's feeling like a 9, we got a problem.
Lower the load. Exactly. So like, for example, it could be like a 5 or 4x5 at 80%. And I want that to be at RPE 8 every single set.
It's like
right?
rate of perceived
exertion.
Right.
That means you have about 2 reps, maybe 3 reps left in the tank. If they get to their first set of what I programmed and they're like, oh God, this was a 10, then they just lower the load by 10 or 15 pounds. So it's at that RPE. Like, I'll expect it to be what I put in terms of percentages, but if it's not, follow the RPE and lower the load. Or if you're feeling really good and it was below the RPE, increase the load above what I gave you. But that's why I don't like pure RPE training, especially for like newer athletes, because like there's going to be a guy that's going to put weight on his back and they'll squat. They're like, oh, this was a 6, but it was like, that was a 10. That means you can't do anymore. You got to stop there. And that's just a really easy way of gauging yourself each day. If you do a load, let's say your typical deadlift max is 450 pounds, right? But you do 430 on the day and it feels like a ton of bricks. Just lower the load a little bit. It's okay. You're just not feeling it on that day. And that's how you continue to make sure that you're training submaximally, because certain days you can really push it and certain days you just got to back off. But the tendency of like every athlete is to want to push it hard every single day.
Oh, how'd that feel? It felt great. Mark, how'd that last lift feel? Felt great. Like, well, it looked like you were going to die. You turned like purple and black, and like we were all very concerned about you, and you looked like you were going to die a couple times.
Your knees were shaking. That's not normal for your knees to shake during a squat. Yeah, so
Since when?
since
Hold
when?
on. I'm just working really hard, bro.
Yeah.
You don't know. But yeah, that happened this morning. I had a weight. We were doing floor presses, and I just like I say every, I don't know. I'm pretty stupid. But I did a very big rookie mistake, and I jumped too much. And I'm like, no, I did fine. And Mark's like, that needs to go down. I'm like, okay, my bad.
It's that ego check, man. Sometimes you just gotta lower whatever you're doing.
Yeah, and to his point, he did. So he went up to 225. He did 225 for 3 reps, which is
Floor
great.
presses.
Which is great because recently he's knocked out a 225 on a regular bench for a set of 3, which is a huge PR. So congratulations on that.
Making gains.
Making them gains. Yeah. I guess we're gonna get into SARMageddon here in a second. Which
yeah.
Is everybody...
Well, yeah. So if people are following, then yeah, they know so far it's been successful, because that was actually when I started the whole thing. That was one of the.
That was a big goal.
Yeah, I mean,
225.
Because in my opinion, because I've hit it. I've hit it. I don't know, like probably 2-3 times, period. And then so did.
I think he should give us a speech. Would you like to start out thanking your mom and dad first, and then?
I mean, yeah, I guess I could potentially.
I'd like to thank the Academy and the executive producer and.
Oh,
yeah. Can't forget about the writers and all that. But no, so I had said, like, if I can rep 225, in my opinion, repping would be at least 3.
Yeah.
A triple. Because I feel like a double would be a double. Triple can still be called a triple, but So, but yeah, I had just hit that. So huge spoiler alert, but yeah. Successful.
We're not going to spoil how much you weigh, though. We're going to keep that for later.
Yeah, that's
he weighs 700 pounds, by the way.
Mark, you're killing the series right now.
So he hit this weight. I mean, he did the lift, and he could have done another set, and he maybe could have even added a little bit of weight. Like it looked like you had a little left in the tank there. But no, it makes more sense. Like, hey, let's go down and let's do this the right way. It's a floor press, and you're supposed to kind of drop the triceps onto the ground, hold it for a half second or so, and press it back up. So let's always make sure we're doing the exercises the right way. Same thing with when you're deadlifting. Your coach, if they just send out 85% to you, and your 85% is a totally different perception of what the coach might have in mind. Maybe you don't have video of it, or maybe you do have video of it, and the video is not always an accurate account of how shaky and how shitty your lift actually looked or felt. And if you're not really analyzing the lift, then it's really going to be tough to make progress, because the lift, in my opinion, your lift should be done pretty much for the large majority of the time. Let's say you're training for 16 weeks for a competition. Out of the 16 weeks, how many lifts should be broken? Maybe like 2 or 3. Like you might have a miss or 2. You might miss a rep because you went into the set like too quick, or it could be a technique flaw. There could be a lot of things. But how many lifts should you miss? How many lifts should you do with a rounded back? I mean, I would pile them all up and say, like, I would allow you about 5, and I really I would not like to see those 5 happen, but like I'm going to give you like a mulligan, like they call it, like a do-over,
Yeah.
And I give you those 5 so you got a little wiggle room. And obviously with a newer lifter, if somebody's new and they haven't really done a 5x5 in a squat with 225 ever before, they might not be used to the pace. Someone who's newer might have more room for error, but for the most part, it's like, man, we don't want a lot of broken lifts.
We don't, and it just takes time and patience towards that. I think if you're a newer lifter, it's really good to just have the outlook of, first off, I don't want to fail any of my lifts, but also don't rush yourself. And that's really hard to say because you see so many people that are so strong. But if you just give yourself just the time to get stronger and handle lifts that there's times where it'll be uncomfortable, but for the most part, where like you're not shaking, your form isn't breaking down, your form looks good on every single rep and every single set, you'll be able to make progress consistently over time. It's just that doesn't sound exciting.
No, it's not
No.
sexy.
It's not at all.
No, yeah, and I think for me the floor presses, I haven't done them in so long. So my last set was last set best set, but it was definitely like everything was on point by then. Unfortunately, it just took me like 5 sets to get there because just not used to it.
Andrew and I were also talking today about diet, and again, we're talking about, changing goals and shifting gears and trying something different. So, you might have a goal to get to a certain body weight. I want to weigh this body weight. Well, you start to get towards that body weight, and now you always want to think of an exit strategy. It's very similar to business. What's your business going to look like in 5 years? Where are you going to be in 5 years? Something that I, teach a lot of people. I get a lot of messages from people that are upset, depressed. They're pissed off at themselves that they're not making the progress that they want. They feel like they can't figure it out. They feel very stuck. And what I always say to people is like, let's first of all, let's take a deep breath here for a second. Let's slow things down for a second, and let's look at where you were like 2 years ago. Are you further ahead or further behind? If you're further ahead than where you were 2 years ago, then congratulations. You should give yourself a pat on the back. That's great, because we can continue that trend, and we can continue. And maybe your progress has been slow, and maybe we can figure out ways of speeding it up.
Mm-hmm.
If you've been going backwards, if you ended up, drinking and ended up getting in real depression and ended up gaining weight and you went backwards, let's just identify that, and let's not kick ourselves while we're down. Let's just say, hey, look, man, I messed up. I made some mistakes. I'm not happy. I'm not proud about it. Let's file it away, and let's figure out what are some things that can kind of get us back on track. And then you have to start to kind of align, some of your habits and some of your thoughts towards some of your goals. We talked earlier about Michael Hearn being able to block out some of that negative. And you want to start to think about what I'm currently doing. If we can agree upon the fact that you're not happy because you're not any further ahead than you were 2 years ago, or you're even further behind than you were 2 years ago, then we can both agree upon the fact that it sounds like the current things that you're doing and working on are not working well for you. This is not working. You're in a bad relationship. You have a bad relationship with food. You're drinking too much. Whatever the thing is, there's something there. Something's blocking you. Something's stopping you. Could even just be your own negative thoughts about yourself, or it could be your job. It could be literally anything. Could be your parents. There's a lot of things that kind of cock block us from getting what we want, right? And so.
Yeah.
Then we start to agree, and we start to now have a conversation. Okay, well, let's try to change some things. Let's set a goal. And then you start to set a goal, and it's like goals can be a real trap, because if we get Andrew to rep 225 and he thinks he's at the mountaintop with 225 for reps, right? It's like, well, now he needs to change his goals. He needs to start to kind of focus in on something else. So Andrew's trying to achieve a certain body weight. Then we talked about, how he can kind of tighten things up as well, gave him some recommendations, and now he's going to try to follow that path for a little while. But the entire time that you've been lifting with me and doing some stuff even on your own over the last, year has it been?
Yeah.
I mean, it's about every month, every 2 months, we're kind of reintroducing or bringing in something totally new diet-wise, right?
Yeah. Because what Mark had told me essentially early on was like, okay, you're getting some momentum, you're getting some compliments. Like, dude, whoa, what's going on here? He's like, when those start fading away, we'll tweak it, and that's what we've been doing over the past year. And I mean, recently it's been like, well, what the hell are you doing? But so yeah, it's been. I mean, we've gone through so many different types of diets too, not just like one thing or the other. We did carnivore, we did vertical, little bit more like high carb, high protein bodybuilder type diets. And
Yeah.
I mean, I have my favorites, but like Mark knows, I also get really tired of food too. So he's like, yeah, you're looking a little sad. Let's change it up.
Yeah.
So it's a really huge benefit for me to be here.
Yeah. I was, there's this client that I had that messaged me the other day. He we just started and he's trying to drop weight. And his first week, he dropped 2 pounds. He said, I only dropped 2 pounds. And I think someone on the podcast mentioned something like that the other day too. And I just laughed because it's like when you're looking at that and it's like you have this goal, this big goal of like losing this amount of weight or gaining this amount of muscle or gaining this amount of strength, you know, even if you're inching forward slowly, it's never good enough. I think Tony Robbins, I don't know if it was originally from him, but I heard this quote from him like I think last week. A lot of people overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in 10. You know, so this hypothetical person that you're talking about,
I like that. That's great. That's a great quote.
Seriously, it is, because like if we think about so many people that are wanting to lose weight and let's say their first 8 months, they drop, let's say it's only 15 pounds. They drop 15 pounds. Yo, that's 15 pounds lighter than you were like earlier this year. That's a big win. It might not be as much as you wanted, but it's still a lot. Now we can just keep improving. I think, you know, we do want to have these mini goals, but if we don't hit those goals, but we still got close and we were still heading there, that's a massive win. Like that is an insane win. And we don't really, I don't think, even myself sometimes, I don't give myself credit for some of the small wins I may have because it's not where I want to be, but it's still better than I was before, you know? So like you're much stronger than you were before. Like, did you think you'd be this strong at this point right now?
No.
Last year?
No.
Yeah.
You know, I said it in a video that has yet to surface, but I will definitely hit all these milestones with or without SARMs. However, being able to do it like in such a short time, so like, whoa, like that's been huge.
You know, also too, like just picture, we'll get into the SARMs a little bit here. Just picture if somebody gave you a pill, right? And said, these pills are going to make you bigger. And along with these pills making you bigger and stronger, I'd like you to start to, you know, really concentrate on that throughout the rest of everything you're doing. Your training, your sleep. I want you to take everything, take the pill, but also take the pill that makes you make the right decision, you know, along with it, you know, swallow that too. Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's, so the SARMs, clearly they're doing something. I mean, Tony Huge, I think he had a lot of great information on the podcast. The Lady Boys was one of my favorite parts of it, actually. But no, he had a lot of great information. He shared a lot of things. I believe they're fairly factual. I believe these things do work. I believe they do have a reaction in the body. I do believe they can make you stronger. I do believe they can help you gain some weight, you know, and help you lift some more weight. And I'm seeing that from you, but I don't think it's just that. I think you're probably getting 50% from them, and you're probably getting the other 50% from your effort and from your lifestyle and from being adapted to a lot of these things for almost close to a year. You now have the mindset. You're no longer the scrawny kid that maybe felt counted out or counted yourself out even. Now you're like, no, you know what? I can do this. Like I lift with Mark all the time. And even if Mark isn't here, I can do that too. I think that was a huge progression for you too.
Yeah.
You know, lifting with me, I think helped you, but having me kind of teach you, I'm like, hey, look, you know, even if I'm not here, you need to make sure that you're not taking these jumps because you're going to get hurt. You're going to get jacked up. And then even when you went off on your own, you were awesome with it and you were consistent with it. And you knew like, hey, I can't be messing around. And you were even antsy about it. You're like, man, these guys work out too slow.
I mean,
you were telling me about that. I thought that was great.
Yeah. So the funny thing was, I was talking to Mark about like man, like I don't know, these warm ups they're really long, and you know, like the way the setup is, like we have to have like 18 guys on one bench, and it's like, dude, it's like, you know, 15 hours later, all right, cool, second set. And, you know, I laid out all these excuses, and he's just like, well, the answer is 4 a.m. I'll see you tomorrow. It's like, all right, I got nothing. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, no, like, so today we benched with Tom and Jay, and old me would have looked at them and been like, oh, well, Tom's been training a long time. Jay's bigger. So they're going to bench more than me. I'm going to have to pull weight off the bar as soon as it's my turn. I ended up matching on one of the accessory movements, but I ended up matching everything they did, and then even hit more reps.
Yeah.
And that's just because I'm like, I know I got this. Like, there's no question about it. Like, I wanted to do more, but you know, luckily Mark's there to be like, all right, and let's move on. But he's totally right. Like training with him, like literally training, like it was training.
Yeah.
You know, I had my training wheels with Mark. And then when he let me out on my own, there were days where, Smokey's like, no, you need to go up. I'm like, okay, Smokey's telling me to go up. I know I need to stop. Yeah.
You know what, Andrew?
So-
I'm curious. If you can think back, right? Like,
Mhm.
think back to a month, 2 months before you started, the SARMs, was your habit in terms of, consistent food intake, working out, was it as on point as it is now?
No, and that's been like a heavy thing in like the comments, right? They're just like, oh, well, now that you're doing all this, you're gonna train way harder. You're gonna, everything's gonna be like intensified. I'm like, or is that a word, intensified?
Yeah,
It is now.
Okay, it is now. Cool. And I'm like, well, yeah, well, no shit. I mean, I've never had eyes on me ever.
Yeah.
So you think I'm just gonna sit here and like, all right, well, I'm gonna take SARMs and go on the couch and see if they work.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so no. So but to answer your question, nothing was terrible. Like,
Yeah.
I made sure I got 8 hours of sleep. I always prep my food, and I train almost every single day. So, but the difference is, like today, Mark said we were done. I went to the GHD machine.
GHR.
Sounds good.
GHR, and it sounds good. And
The
I
CrossFitters call it a GHD. Yeah,
yeah, so I went to that
those
thing.
bastards.
So I get confused. I don't know what the hell
It's
it's
a
called.
glute ham raise. It's GHR.
What's
but
the
they call
D?
It,
The GHD.
yeah, what is the
Glute
D?
ham dick.
Yeah, who put the D in glute ham raise?
I went on that thing
Yeah.
after we were done because I wanted to work my abs.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd hit 3 sets there, and then I come back and Mark's picked up some dumbbells, and I'm like, yeah, let's keep going.
Yeah.
And so we worked out more chest stuff, and he ended up showing me how to like pose and flex, which was really cool. And I'm gonna try to keep doing that every day now too.
It was getting a little weird to work out. I ain't gonna lie.
You guys took your shirts off in front of the mirror and were posing with each other?
Well,
Mhm.
yeah. So his shirt's always off, so it's pretty
we know
cool.
that.
But he's like, here, come over here, and put your hands together and flex and blah. I'm like, you know what? I've got a little confidence right now. I'm gonna go ahead and pull my shirt off.
There we go.
And so and somebody walked in and was like, oh, all right, cool.
An
So-
audience.
Yeah.
You have trouble flexing your right arm? Was it?
Yeah, my right bicep. My left one, I can get the peak really good, and it's my off arm. And then so my stronger arm, I just have a hard time like getting that nice peak going.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
just kind of showed him how to kind of squeeze a dumbbell, flex with a dumbbell, and just took the dumbbell away from him, and then he's kind of able to still hold the peak on that.
Yeah, and then the pectacles too. He showed me
Yeah.
how to flex that up. It was a lot of fun.
Remember the first time I saw that on TV as a kid was Terry Crews doing his pecs. I think I was
Oh,
like
yeah.
15. I was like, can I? They're not
Yeah.
moving. When I was able to get a little bit of a movement there, I think I was like 17. I was like, yeah.
Pec
that-
popping.
Is that
Heck
on like
popping.
Friday after next? I'm assuming.
I don't know which one.
Yeah.
I remember I saw Terry Crews on TV, making his pecs dance. And that in itself was motivating.
Yeah.
Shoot.
It's an interesting thing that we don't start there. It's an interesting thing we don't start with flexing, because it's like you would figure like let's say you wanted to be a sprinter. You figure that someone would teach you how to flex like your calves and your hamstrings. But no, you just run. You don't learn like, I'm not saying like you need to be doing like this huge like bodybuilding course or anything, but I think some bodybuilding would be great for everybody. And even just the flexing and posing of it sounds so strange, but learning how to just flex your left bicep, learning how to just flex your right pec, learning how to flex not just your quad, but to take the individual muscles that are in the quad. You got 4 big muscles in there, trying to figure out how to make each one kind of move around.
Yeah.
You figure that's where we'd start with our training, but we don't. And, when I was working with Andrew today, I was like, you'd figure that this would be the first thing that we would go over, but it ends up being kind of the last.
Yeah. I'm most sore from that like 5 minutes of posing than I am the whole workout.
I don't know why there's still somewhat of a differentiation between, I get why, but powerlifting and bodybuilding. You know what I mean? Because powerlifter, as a powerlifter, you should be doing all these movements to activate all of these different muscle groups. You should be doing that. That should be part of your training. There's going to be some times where that's going to be lower volume when you're getting closer to a competition, but outside of competition, you should be working all these different muscle groups. You should be knowing how to activate them. They should be getting bigger. It doesn't make sense why there's still that's bodybuilding training. No, that's just that's powerlifting. It should just be part of powerlifting. It's odd.
I think sometimes, when it comes to like general fitness and when it comes to powerlifting, maybe kind of people are thinking like, I don't really have the muscle to like flex to really see the difference, and so maybe that's why they don't work on some of those things. But you're starting to see it more. You're starting to see it more and more,
Yeah.
and where it needs to show up more too is, I think again, like general fitness, there's a lot of machines and things like that in the gym, but there's still not enough people that understand. Like when I run into somebody and they're like in their 60s and they lift, like when we had Dr. Davis here. Remember how like Dr. Davis, the former cardiologist. Anyway, he wrote some really good books and stuff like that. We had him on the show, and he was fantastic. But he was like in his 60s, and he lifted. But he had a very simple routine. He's like, I go through some of the machines in the gym. And he's like, and I do sets of 10. He's like, I get a pump. I get a lot of blood in there. He goes, and I might finish off with some barbell stuff or some dumbbells or something like that. He goes, but it's pretty much the same, similar workout each time. And I was like, you know what, man? I was like, that's great. You're doing like resistance training and you're flexing the muscles and you're getting blood into the muscles. I'm like, I think, in general fitness, you don't really hear that much about people kind of diving into some of that. And I'm talking about like, there's a lot of women that do like yoga and Pilates and maybe they get into, healthier eating and stuff, but they're not getting into kind of the muscle building side of it, which I think is really important. And yoga can provide its own resistance, and so can Pilates. But I don't think there's anything that can really match just going in the gym and getting some good resistance training in.
There's still for some women, including my girlfriend, there's still some fear of like getting really big.
Yeah.
There's still some fear of putting on too much muscle, even though that's not going to happen. You're going to have healthier joints. You're going to have an easier time moving around. You're not going to feel as much pain. You're just going to feel better altogether. And it just should be a part of what people do on a daily basis.
There's kind of the stigma that you're going to get too yoked. I did a Metcon yesterday, by the way.
Oh.
Awful.
Trying to get all in shape? What's going on here?
I did. I just asked Khalipa to kind of throw one out to me, and he did. He gave me. It was like up downs. I'm sorry. It was a push press followed by trying to do them strict for 10 to 15 reps, and whenever you start to break down, then you drop down and do 10 up downs, which is basically an up down is basically just like a squat thrust, I guess you'd say, or a burpee without the jump.
Okay.
The problem is I can't really do a squat thrust at the moment because I can't like just put my hands on the ground while my feet are on the ground and then kick my feet back and then kick my feet back underneath me. You should be able to like do that. You should be able to have the mobility and the strength to do that. But I just have to like drop down and like I push my whole body weight back up.
Yeah.
Like I snap back up, which works out to be pretty fast. Timing wise, it's pretty good, but not very efficient for your, for how I was doing in the workout. So I only used 95 pounds for the overhead press. I suck at barbell overhead presses. Mm-hmm. So I do the overhead press and I go through a set of like 15. I was like, oh wow. Okay. That felt insanely light. Like this might not be that bad. I do one set of the up downs. The 95 pounds feels like 225.
Damn.
Right away, it just felt like somebody put bands on it or chains on it or something. It's like, holy shit.
That recovery needs work.
Oh my God, needs a lot of work. And so what's amazing is like what I felt, my wind felt pretty good. My chest and stuff, my breathing felt good. But I was still trying to pace myself because I'm like, I don't ever do any of this. So I was just trying to recover whatever way I could. But my muscles were like blown up. Like they just I couldn't go any further, so I had to like stop a few times and wait. And I did this thing for a progression of 4 rounds, and then I timed it, and I ended up doing it in like 6 minutes or something. Which something like that for a good athlete should probably take like 3 minutes. Mm-hmm. So I was just like, oh man, I was like, that's pretty crappy. And then my reps started going down. I started only being able to do 6 of each one. But I take that kind of thing as like this is a starting point. I have never done that particular workout. Amount of CrossFit workouts for me has been really low. I haven't done many of them, so I was like, and I've done some of them where I can do actually pretty good. Some of the stuff that Jason's prescribed in the past, I was able to get through them pretty good. But I was like, well, this is clearly a weakness. This is something I could work on and really benefit from. And then today when we were benching, I was like, man, my shoulders are fried. And I was like, oh, shit, it was that damn Metcon I did yesterday.
It's great that you're actually
6 minutes though, by the way, just 6
Yeah.
minute workout. Like that's awesome.
you're doing something you're not good at in terms of lifting. Like you're not just sticking to a bench, a squat, or a deadlift, or some of these other movements. You're doing a segment of movements that you're not good at, and you're looking to progress at that. And a lot of people, after we get a handle on what we like and what we're good at, we don't step out of that.
Stay there forever.
You just stay stagnant in that. You don't progress in any other direction than just getting a little bit better at these specific things over time. So that's huge.
That's
Next
why
is
I
jiu-jitsu.
I know, and we're still getting to that. We're still getting to that. I'm still working on that process, but I didn't want to talk about it anymore because I'm not making it happen yet. So we'll move on to the next topic.
There you go. So what was it like over the pond?
It was amazing. Yeah, traveling overseas was really cool. It's always awesome to anytime I get a chance to travel with my wife and hang out with her. We didn't bring the kids on this trip, so that was a lot of fun. What's so much fun with her is the progression of the relationship, but the progression of where we are financially and how we can really just feel good about it. Just makes you feel good. There's no other way to really put it. But we talked a lot about how happy we used to be, like even just to go out, period.
Mm-hmm.
Like just to go out to eat, period. We were pumped, and we were like, but we did it like once every other week, or maybe even once a month, because like we just didn't have the money to do that kind of thing. Plus, we lived in Los Angeles; things were a little bit more expensive, and we were like, and it's a little harder to get around in Los Angeles, stuff traffic wise and things like that. And we just appreciate it so much that we're able to go out, differently, and we still have a certain neither one of us like grew up rich or anything, so we still have a certain flavor and a certain taste for certain things. And so sometimes we end up at like these really wild, over the top restaurants, and we're laughing about it. Like this is like way too, it's way overkill. We don't even know what we're ordering. We don't even know what we're getting. Getting some weird thing that's like duck fat from from some exclusive place and wherever the hell they're flying it in from or whatever. But it's fun.
Yeah.
It's just fun. And we've been together. It's going to be 19 years of marriage in August, and it's more fun to hang out with her now than it's ever been. So I think because the kids are older, that helps a lot. There's still stresses with the children, obviously, all the time. That's just part of being a parent. It's just part of having them attached to your hip forever. But it's different. It's different when they're really young and they don't, they're not listening to you, or they're off like breaking something or whatever. It's just more frustrating those times. So from that perspective, it was really good. And then from a business perspective, it was great too. I got to go to Body Power. The Body Power Expo is one of the bigger expos they have over there. And it was in Birmingham. There ain't shit to do in Birmingham, so we stayed in London. Birmingham is like, it's kind of like industrial almost.
It's gray.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. That's pretty much all of England. It just rains all the time, pretty much.
Yeah.
Another funny thing too was how hard it was to understand everybody.
What do you mean? Like just the accents? Because they were speaking English.
Right.
Oh man.
The accents, yeah. The accents were thick, but a lot of Scottish people there and a lot of Irish people there as well. And good luck trying to understand them. Holy shit, is it hard? And like someone's blaring music across from us, some douchebag company that had these just like super tight shirts or whatever. And they were just blasting music the whole time. And I couldn't really hear anybody. So I'm like, I feel like such an idiot. All I'm doing is like nodding my head and smiling the whole time. I can't hear what a lot of times I can't hear what the hell anybody's saying. And I'm like, is it because I'm getting old that I can't hear? Or is it just literally I cannot understand what they're saying, But the pitch of a lot of their voices doesn't have a lot of bass in it, from what I've noticed from most of the people I talked to there. And the accent, the kind of combination, I wasn't able to always pick up what everybody was saying. But it's amazing to meet these people. And this kid right here, he was competing, and so I'm signing the shirt that he's about to wear to
sick,
to go do his lift. But each person kind of has their own story, and it's funny because the people will come up and they'll apologize. They're like, oh man, I feel bad, but I'm taking up so much of your time, and there's all these people waiting in line. I'm like, no, this is your time. you know, I don't care if we talk for 90 minutes. Fuck everybody else. You know, like you got here, you happen to be in line, and we're talking now, and so just overwhelming too. You know, I don't really use that word very often, but to go to this booth and like turn the corner and it says Mark Bell Slingshot, and it's all, you know, and this is a different company. This is our vendor in the UK, and they have things set up really nicely, and they're all super excited and super proud of the company and what they're doing. And it was just great. And they did a lot of work. They did a lot of work letting people know that I was going to be there and all that kind of stuff. And so what happened on the so Saturday is kind of the big day. Friday is like more of an industry day where there's like more of the other companies are in there rather than like fans and stuff. And so on the second day, I was supposed to stay there until 1. It got to be about 12:30 or so, and I was like, man, I've gone through this line, you know, this huge line, and it's like never ending. And I got here, you know, right when it started and stuff, and so I was just like fizzling out. And it's never good to talk to fans when you're not like in the right mode, you know, your right frame of mind. You know, you don't want to be grumpy. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to say bye to everybody, and I'm going to get out of here. And so my wife and I, we took off, and you know, as we're exiting, we run into this kid who's like rounding the corner, and the kid's like hustling, you know, he's like running, and he's like sweating and stuff, and he's like out of breath, and he was wearing headphones. He put the headphones down, and he just started like he couldn't even talk. Like he tried to talk, and he started like crying right away.
Oh,
and I mean, here's this big old kid. Look at the size of this guy. You know, he's like
massive.
Yeah, he's huge. He's like probably 21 or something like that.
Jeez. He
starts talking and kind of, you know, sharing his story with me and Andy, and it just got emotional. And Andy started crying. He just said how inspired he was. He listens to the podcast all the time.
Yeah.
He sees all the content that we put out. He's been following along since, you know, he's seen Bigger, Stronger, Faster. He's watched all the stuff we've done with Brian Shaw and Ed Cohn and all that stuff. And he just said, hey, you know, it's had a huge impact. And he said, I want you to really know that what you're doing is working. He's like, I hear that you always say you want to make the world a better place to lift. He's like, you're doing it. And I was like, holy shit. I'm trying not to cry because he's crying and Andy's crying. So I'm about ready to start going too. But I just thought it was so cool. It was so awesome to run into him in that way. I mean, I'm about ready to go on a train to go on a train to basically go to Paris. So like I'm out of there.
Yeah.
And if I stayed at the booth, I wouldn't have run into him, because he wouldn't have made it, because he would have been like in the back of the line. I still would have left anyway. So I just thought like, man, that's just a cool twist of fate, you know? And so I posted this. He posted something up on me, and then I went to post something up, and I actually took down the post originally because I was like, I wanted to add something to this post. And then I just kind of thought about it a little bit more. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to invite this kid out here. I'm going to fly him out here to super training. And so
dang,
that's what we're doing. We're flying him out from the UK to super training.
It's crazy. What's his name?
His name is like Rob Plett or something.
Yeah. I remember I saw his profile. He does like acting or something. Yeah. Seems like a funny dude.
Yeah, he's a huge kid.
Yeah. It's crazy.
He's into some strongman stuff and some powerlifting and stuff like that.
And Thor doesn't make him look like a baby, because I've stood next to Thor, I've stood next to Shaw, and they make me look like a child.
Yeah.
So this is a big dude.
Whoa.
Yeah. He doesn't look small.
No.
It's insane. But Mark, I was wondering, because
he's massive.
Have you ever done an episode with Andy? Or not? Like,
yeah.
Oh yeah. We've done maybe one.
Episode 2.
Episode 2? Because I was gonna say, man, it's like, I mean, obviously we know what you guys have been able to build together, but it'd be so interesting, especially I think men and women in relationships would love to know like how you guys built like a shared vision to where you are now, because you're over there, you know, you do this thing, you have a dinner.
Not a shared vision. It's my vision.
It's your vision. Okay, your vision. But still, it's just like it's super inspiring to see like
to show you.
Yeah, you guys have been together for a long time, right? It's not like you guys have been together for a long time. You have a great family. You're over here having dinner in France and doing all this stuff, a molded business. There has to be so much complexities there, and just an understanding in terms of just your dynamic to make it all work. It'd be really cool to hear and understand. But
yeah, we should bring her back on the show for sure.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot. There's a lot to talk about. And the cool thing is that, you know, for the most part, she is like, I guess, the protector of like the brand, and she's a protector of me. So like, whenever I run into all kinds of different situations where I might have opportunity to do something, and you know, before I can even finish my sentence, she's always just like, no, not doing that. And you know, like sometimes it's something I might really want to do, or you know, I'm, you know, I don't know, I like to, I don't like to say no.
Yeah.
I don't really like to say no, and so, you know, I'll go to her and ask her, and I'll say, well, a person seems pretty cool. I don't know, you know, and she's like, no, like, no, you don't, you know. So she's kind of
Watching your back.
protective. Yeah, she's protective of all that stuff, and then she's also, you know, she's also going to be the one that's thinking of the finances. You know, she'll think of some resistance and some finances. Not like that's where her mind goes right away, like automatically to block everything. But if I like, for example, with the new space that we get, I want to build out a studio in there, where we could do all. I'll explain some other time where we can do all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah.
And so she's all for it, you know, and then she just processes it, and then the next day she's like, we need to talk about it further, because we need to kind of like think about, you know, how crazy do you want this setup to be, and what is it going to look like, and you know, how much are we going to like put into it, and what can we get out of it? So
Yeah.
she's always kind of thinking of a lot of that stuff, a lot of like checks and balances, pros and cons. Her main thing is like, how does this help? How does this hurt?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've been working in here on a new slingshot, and the new slingshot allows you to handle a lot more weight, but it doesn't look like we're going to make it for the masses, because I'm like, what this could do from a negative perspective far outweighs the positive. I do not want people to get hurt. You know, the product is designed to avoid injury. The product's designed to allow you to train through injury. And as you start to make something more and more powerful, even the Mad Dog slingshot, it can be fairly dangerous to somebody who's not advanced. This product is so strong that it's going to pull your elbows in. I've seen people snap their arms in bench shirts before, because the bench shirt pulls their elbows in. So my worry is that, you know, somebody like me would order it and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to use it, but then I share it with my buddy when we're working out, and then like, I don't want people to get hurt. So she's like, she's quick to make the call, you know. So I'll say, you know, it just doesn't feel right, and boom, right away she's like, nope, no reason to make it. Okay, next thing.
Yeah.
You know, she's like, on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And I have like emotional attachment to stuff, because like here I was like working on this thing for a while, you know, and so she's able just to kind of compartmentalize it and be like, no, that ain't for us, so let's not do it.
Yeah, when we were talking a couple months ago about having like regular like scheduled seminars here at Super Training, you know, like, okay, like this weekend, or not this weekend, but a couple of weeks from now, we're gonna have one for squats, I think, right? Like a squat seminar.
Yep.
So like specific things. And so like I told Andy, like in the group meeting, she's like, we should do a business one, and you should be one of the main hosts. And she just kind of laughed it off, but like I was being totally serious, and she thought that it could have been a joke, but I'm like, I don't know. I think maybe if Mark can like kind of put that, you know, in her head or something, to be like, hey, people would actually be interested in this.
Shit, I would.
I know, right?
I know a lot
Like
of people would too.
having her and Mark together, like talking business, would be huge.
Yeah.
People really do need to hear from more women when it comes to that kind of stuff, I believe, and just from more people in general. But like when I went to that leadership thing down in San Diego, there was a few women that spoke, and the perspective from the other side was great. Like they were actually like two of my favorite speakers. I think there was maybe another woman or two in there, but two of my favorite speakers were both women, you know, and it's just a different perspective. They just have a different point of view. And amazing too that I think in both cases, I think both women have kids too. So I'm like, how did they
Yeah.
I mean, you don't just like have a kid, you know, like it's this big process of being pregnant, and then, you know, there's a long period of time where that you and that kid are pretty attached, especially as a mom. So I'm like, how the hell did they figure some of that out? But yeah, I think there's a lot of women that could gain more from hearing from more women. I think the same thing with fitness, same thing with training. Like a lot of times the men are the quote unquote experts, and there's not enough material expert women, and we're starting to see more. So that's the good news. There's starting to be more people like Steph Cohen who are out there like teaching people, and hopefully we continue to see more, because it's harder to relate sometimes to the opposite sex, and so hopefully we see more of that.
Yeah, I think who's coming tomorrow, or who do we talk to tomorrow? Are we talking about that or no?
Oh, we're talking tomorrow. Yeah, we're talking to Meg Squats.
Meg Squats. I just didn't want to put it out there. We're
Meg Squats.
Yeah, it won't be live, so it might not get posted tomorrow, but that's fine. Yeah.
June 8th, we're having a seminar here, and it was originally supposed to be a squat seminar, but it's the first. This is our first second Saturday.
My bad.
This is our first second Saturday seminar. We're going to do several of them throughout the year, and this one has none other than Charles Glass, which I'm so excited to have him here. He's just the godfather of bodybuilding himself.
He's going to be instructing the seminar?
He's going to be instructing the seminar.
Oh, y'all better get out. Well, I don't know who's going to be able to come, but I'm going to be at that one. That's insane.
We might be able to save a spot for you. We'll see.
Okay.
It's June. It's going to be June 8th. It's here at Super Training Gym, and it's from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. It'll probably run long because I have a tendency to talk, and Charles talks pretty fast, so I don't know, from his point of view how long he'll talk. If you want more information on it, just go to the Super Training Gym Instagram, and you can see some information on it there. I don't know how you sign up or anything, but come check it out. You're gonna enjoy it.
If people want to go, they'll figure it out.
They'll figure it out. We'll get it figured out. But I'd love to have Andy on the show again, so we'll bring her in here soon enough.
Oh yeah.
And I think on a recent podcast, someone had asked you about kids or possibly having more kids. I think it was Fitzgerald, but you guys kind of had a new addition to the family, right?
Yeah,
we haven't talked about.
Yeah, we popped out a dog.
What's that been like?
And why so small, by the way?
Because it's so damn cute.
It's like this big. Bro.
Yeah.
So Quinn has been like, Jake has always liked dogs, and he's always wanted one. I'm pretty uncomfortable with animals, so I was like cool with him not having one, because Quinn was way too scared of them. I mean, she was like deathly afraid of them. She just, I don't know, she always thought they were going to do something to her. I used to have to pick her up all the time when she was little, and we'd walk down the street and there'd be a dog. Didn't matter how cute or big or small or whatever the thing was, she was always terrified, and so it was never really an option. It was never really a conversation. But then Quinn started getting used to some of her friends' dogs and stuff like that. Oh, there she is. There's Daisy. So Quinn started getting used to some of her friends' dogs and stuff like that. This dog is ridiculous. It's so silly. It's insane. So Andy started kind of looking into these. It's called the teacup Maltese, right?
Yeah.
So she's showing me these Instagram clips of these teacup Maltese, and she goes, "Look who follows this! Look who follows this teacup Maltese!" And sure enough, it's the Natty Professor. And I was like, "That's so hilarious!" I'm like, "That's awesome!" So she's showing me all these pictures of these dogs and stuff, and then it was like a week or two later, she's like, "Here's our dog," and I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Well, this is the one that we're gonna get." And I was like, "Well, how do you get it? Like, and where does it come from?" And she's like, "It comes from China." I'm like,
Wait,
"Oh no, is the dog
seriously?
gonna understand us? If it is it gonna speak Chinese? But yeah. So the dog it came from China, and we've had the dog for almost 2 months now.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is it wasn't like I mean it's I guess it's still like a puppy, but it wasn't like a tiny puppy like in the pictures. It was like a little bit bigger, but it's still tiny. I mean, the thing only weighs like 4 or 5 pounds, something like that. It's really, really little. But the strength increase from the first day that we had it till now, and how quick it is, and it's insane. Because like I was like, oh, it's kind of cool. Like, if I want to have the dog on the couch with me, I can, but the dog can't jump up on the couch. And then sure enough, like a month later, there she is.
Jumping on the couch.
Jumping on the couch.
How much bigger is she going to get? Because
That's
she's like,
it.
what?
That's
Like,
it.
oh, that's it.
That's it. Yeah,
That's crazy.
Yeah, she's right about there. I mean, I imagine maybe she'll gain a pound or something.
Yeah.
But
honestly, it's the funniest thing seeing you and this tiny little dog. You would not expect that. But I
It's a
guess
cute,
it works.
it's a cute little sucker, and it's just like a normal dog. I didn't know how it would be because I
Yeah.
thought it would be like I don't know. I just I just assumed because it's so small that maybe it wouldn't be as smart as a regular
Yeah,
dog or
yeah.
whatever. Maybe it didn't have the same size brain or
Uh-huh.
something. But I thought maybe it'd be like more like a cat or something. But I mean, it's a regular dog. You come in the house
Yeah.
and it comes flying up to
Yeah.
you. But you're almost tripping over it all the time because it's always
Oof.
hovering around your feet. And then she has these bursts of energy, kind of throughout the day where she wants to like attack your feet and all kinds of crazy shit like that.
I gotta ask you, why do animals make you uncomfortable? And like, is there like a story to that, or they're just like
No, there's not a particular story. I just I don't know. I just always like I've always been kind of uneasy around them. And then
Yeah.
once you're if you're uneasy around a dog, especially kind of a bigger dog that wants to just play with you, they like sense it and they want to like play with you even more or something. I think maybe they want to show you like, hey, there's nothing to worry about, but they want to like jump on you and shit,
Yep.
So I'm always like, I don't know about that. I don't know what the hell that thing's gonna do to me.
Okay.
Just
Yeah.
probably an irrational fear almost. You know?
Yeah.
No, I never gotten like bit or like kicked by
Yeah.
a horse or anything weird like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's normal. I've heard of it before, because it's like people, they just like, well, oh, when was the last time you actually had a conversation with the dog that said it wasn't going to bite you? Like, you can't control it, but
Yeah.
at the same time, I'm just like, chill out, man.
Yeah.
Dogs are great. I love pups.
Who
But-
let the dogs out?
Yeah, I was going to say.
Oh my God, who let the dogs out?
I need to learn about this.
Yeah. So while I was in Europe and while I was at the Body Power Expo, last year a guy worked on me. He's a physio. He does physical therapy stuff, and so he worked on I think my elbow or something, And this year when I went, I was actually hoping that I'd run into him again because I'm like, man, my neck hurts. I don't know what the hell I was doing when I was sleeping or whatever, but my neck was killing me. So I was like hoping that I'd run into him. So there's kind of some dead time. It was just a dead time during the expo, and sure enough, the guy comes out of nowhere, and there he is, And I was like, oh, sick, And he's like, hey, you want to get work done? I was like, yeah, actually, I'm available now if you want, if you want to do something. And he's like, sure. He's like, I'll take you with me. So I told some of the people that were at the slingshot booth, I said, why don't you guys come with me? And one guy, his name is Chris Fellows. He works for them, and he does filming and photography for them and stuff like that. And he's been a huge fan, and he's all in on the company and everything. And so he was excited to be filming and everything. He's actually getting married the next day, and him and his wife, they tell me, they're like, hey, we can only be here for today because we wanted to be here tomorrow, but we're getting married. And I was like, well, you sound like you're bummed that you're getting married. It's like you should be totally pumped that you're getting married. But yeah, they're trying to like let me down easy. I was like, hey, that's awesome, you're getting married. But anyway, I had them come with me to kind of film and get some pictures and stuff. But I also wanted them to kind of experience what was about to happen because I knew we were going kind of like backstage. And last year when I went backstage, there was some other celebrity like influencers, famous people, if you will, like Mike Rashid and Simeon Panda and stuff like that. And so I went into this green room, and sure enough, I turned the corner, and there's Phil Heath, and there's Dana Lynn Bailey, and there's Rob Bailey, and there was a few others back there as well. And so I get work done. There's Phil Heath. I get so freaking
wide.
jacked. Yeah, he's so jacked. He's fired up too. He's fired up. If he hops back on stage this year, I think he'll be really hard to beat. He's pretty excited. Yeah, they are. Yeah, there's Rob and Dana Lynn. And so, I get worked on for a little while, and we get some shots of that, and then I just end up talking to Rob and Dana Lynn and Phil Heath kind of in a circle. And my friends that I brought in there, ear to ear smiling the entire time. They're huge fans of fitness.
Yeah.
They just couldn't believe that they were there. They were so pumped. And I'm talking to Dana Lynn about she got rhabdo in her stomach from doing a CrossFit workout, from doing sit-ups. And Rob's making fun of me about my small dick truck, my giant truck that I got. And he's like, hey, way to kill the environment. Nice small dick truck. We're just all giving each other shit, just talking trash.
Yeah.
Phil Heath is talking about like psilocybin mushrooms and all kinds of crazy stuff because he lives in Colorado, and they, so we're just, but what what my friends, thought about that whole thing, they were really blown away because they just were like, you guys are just sitting there just having like regular conversation. He's like, I don't know what I thought, would happen if people like that were talking, but he's like, it gave me some insight that it's like, it's like regular people, I guess, So he thought it was really cool. But as Rob is, making fun of my truck, once one dick story gets whipped out, then more dick stories are to come, right? And so I mentioned horsecock. I mentioned, how we talked about this guy horsecock on our podcast before when Scott Mendelson was on the podcast. I said I used to go to this gym, LA Lifting Club. And I'm like, Scott, I know that you used to train there. I'm like, what was the deal with the guy with the horse cock? He's like, he just had an enormous cock. So and I thought he had something wrong with him. He's like, no, dude, he just had a big. Well, he's like, what he had wrong with him is he had a giant dick, which is probably not a wrong thing. And
good problem to have.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it looked like a. He's wearing cargo shorts, which I don't know how your dick shows through on cargo shorts.
Yep.
Baggy ass cargo shorts, camouflage cargo shorts. I remember it specifically. And it looked like what are those canisters called that everyone's walking around with?
Like the
water things that people put the
hydro flask.
A hydro flask.
Yeah.
It looked like a hydro flask hanging out in his cargo shorts. And he kept asking me and my brother if we wanted a spot on the bench, and we're like, no. And he was super nice too, but we're like, we're good, dude. Like we don't want anything to do with that.
Waving over your face.
Yeah, and Mendelson was saying it was so ridiculous that like everybody used to make him like show people all the time.
Oh God.
He's like, hey, like they would joke with the guy. The guy would compete at 275, and they're like, you just have somebody hold on to that thing, you'll be in the 242 weight class.
Yeah.
But so I'm talking about this horsecock fellow to Phil Heath and Rob and Dana Lynn, and everyone's laughing and we're all having a good time and stuff. And then Phil is like, he goes, I've seen some shit in bodybuilding, man. He's like, it's wild. He goes, one year, this guy, he came out, he goes, I'm sitting there and I'm just trying to pay attention to like other things and I'm trying to block it out, but his trunks are not fitting. They don't fit in the front. He's like, you know what I mean? Like they're not, it doesn't work. He's like, he's got something giant that wants to crawl out of there. and he's like, you could almost see all his stuff. And he goes, and I have seen him at competitions before. And I know that he goes out there and like, not only does he pose, but he like dances. And then he starts showing me, he's like, Phil, I'm going to like do this and I'm going to do that. And he starts doing like these splits and stuff. And Phil is like, I'm just like trying to look him in the face. And I'm like, good, bro, man, you look good. He goes, for the next 5 years, he goes, this guy proceeds to do this. He goes on stage and he gets out there to Who Let the Dogs Out and dances his ass off with his shit flopping around everywhere.
Oh God, I'm guessing this.
Yeah,
is
this is some shots of this guy. So once he told me the guy's name and stuff, and then so I ended up looking it up.
Oh, no.
And then I sent it to I sent it I sent it to Phil, and Phil was he was laughing so hard, and I was like, yeah, man, now I can't stop watching videos of this guy. Now I'm forever stuck, you know.
He looks like a kind of guy who'd just be like, yeah, just let it hang out.
But
oh God.
He said some of these guys, I guess it helps with the pump or something like that. Some of these guys will take like Cialis or something like that before they go on stage, to get like their muscles to pump more or something like that. He goes, so, oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, he's going all in, and he goes, so
this is so good.
I love the boots too.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah, if you're not watching this on YouTube, you're really missing out. This is a well choreographed posing routine. I think this guy's name is Jesse Ferguson, I believe.
Yeah.
Is the bodybuilder. Who let the dogs out? Who? And so I told Phil, I said, hey, if you're ever about to go on stage and I hear Who Let the Dogs Out, I'll know that it's over for you, right? And he goes, hell yeah.
That's so good.
Oh my God.
Is this guy still competing?
He's doing the kind of
Hey,
green.
we can only hope.
Right?
He's out
I'm
here
just hoping.
twerking.
I'm
Oh
hoping
my
that you
God.
get back into it and we see this at a show.
Well, I've been so inspired by these moves that the next time I compete, I'm gonna steal some of these.
Yeah.
Yo, this is suspect though, because I'm trying my hardest not to look at his dick. It's just like your eyes just get drawn
Yeah.
down.
It has its own gravitational pull.
Really?
That's impressive.
I was just like, man, bodybuilding is crazy. So Phil Heath, the best part about it, he said, he's just sitting there shaking his head, and we're all like dying laughing, and he goes, you know what I can never figure out? He goes, I don't know. He's still dancing. Oh, this is Who Let the Dogs Out. It's when the song finally comes on. Now he's really going nuts. Oh my
He's like,
God.
but wait, there's more.
I love how he just ran to the other side of the stage to like show everybody else, like, hey, check this out.
God.
Like that he's barely flexing.
Yeah. Has he flexed the whole time? I mean,
Oh God.
Phil Heath is like, dude, he's like, if I was on that judging panel, he's like, I would have just passed him through. Just give him his pro card. So you
Yeah.
don't have to keep seeing the same routine every year. Like, oh my God.
Wow. Wow.
So good.
It's a BBC right there.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, there's no other way to go. You got to get that big black coffee in there.
Yeah,
Oh man.
dude. You're welcome, everybody.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
God, I just feel so confused with myself. I don't. Wow.
Uh-oh.
Nsima's about to go home and tell his
I was
girlfriend.
gonna
"Look,
say, like, uh-oh,
I think
hold
it's
on.
over. I got feelings for somebody else.
Yeah, he's gonna go look this guy up.
Oh man. No, that's too much for me.
That
Buddy,
whole-
we gotta snap you back into reality here. You got Worlds coming up.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I do have Worlds coming up. That's May 31st. Yeah, tickets and all that stuff is all good to go, and I'm just gonna keep training until it happens. Jason's probably going to be competing there. Chad's going to be competing there. So I'm just going to be focusing on my first match, and ideally I can roll with him again.
Think you could Bones Jones the guy? Like, can you steal some of his powers and then like beat him at his own game? I remember that's what he said he did to Daniel Cormier, and I was like, man, that's cold. But that is what he did. He did have Daniel Cormier up against this cage the whole time.
took him down.
Yeah, took him down. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild. Like to
It
have that
is.
mindset like that, he's just a freak.
Mm-hmm. No, but you were talking about Bones Jones the other day, and like it's just crazy how I guess just in control he seems every time he steps into the ring. And then you were also mentioning how he just like goes with how he feels. Like he'll just maybe come out from certain practices because he knows he shouldn't do it, and he knows how to pace himself. I think I'm getting a better hang of that now. Like I used to just like when it comes to training and jiu-jitsu, I used to just go as much as I could. But now I'm like on days where I'm feeling like I need to back off a little bit, I'm getting better at learning how to back off and I guess feel how I should be training for competition. So
Are you curious to see if any of the other is it super heavy or
Ultra
heavies? If any of them start pulling guard now that
that's not
now you're not worried about it at all.
I'm not worried about somebody pulling guard on me.
Mhm.
I'm going to pull guard regardless. But even if they do, then I'll just work on passing, or I'll just pass. But most of the guys don't pull guard;
Mhm.
they go for takedowns. So with that being said, I have a decent guard at this point where I'm confident that it's going to be very difficult for anyone to pass once I pull.
Nice.
So yeah, man, I'm nervous, but that's always a good sign. I know I've put in and I'm continuing to put in all the training that I can and all the training that I should, and just got to go show it when it comes game day.
Do you have it sometimes just like just out of the blue, just nerve, just boom, they just dump on you out of nowhere? Do you have that sometimes?
Not like all in a rush because I think about it so much. Like I'll go into like the sauna or whatever afterwards, and I'll just like sit there for 30 minutes and I'll just think about the match and think about those guys I'm competing against. And since I've been doing that type of stuff at that, like, yeah, I am nervous still, but it's not something that I guess shocks me. I'm ready for what I'm about to go into. At least I hope I am, but I'm pretty sure I'm ready for what I'm about to go into. Yeah.
And like, what are some of the things you're envisioning? Are you kind of walking yourself through the whole thing? Are you walking yourself like walking into the building? And then I imagine it's tournament style. You have multiple matches and things like. Are you trying to envision all that? Are you trying to envision moves or?
Yeah, exactly. Well, moves pretty much. I envision my game because I've been to the Walter Pyramid in my first year at Worlds, so I know what that all looks like. I know what the day is going to look like, but I pretty much envision the things that I am going to do. against my opponents. Like there's a specific type of game that I play. I have a lot of different transitions in certain positions, and I just imagine doing that against those guys. Like I know how big this individual is and compared to me, so I know how that feels. And Chad, I mean, hopefully I get to compete against Chad too. That'd be fun. But I just envision what I'm going to do against these individuals with my game. And I just go over it over and over again. And the cool thing is that like some of the things that I think about when I go into training with my training partners, there are a few big guys that I roll with, and I'll do the exact things that I was thinking about on the mats when I train. And that in itself is a confidence boost, because now it's just like it's continuing to cement that technique, and it works really well. Like we've talked about visualization before, visualizing game day in terms of powerlifting, you know, the weights that you're going to be moving, the way you're going to move it, etc. And it really does make a big difference, but it has to be in congruence with, you know, training. You know, you got to get that training in too. So I've been putting in what I need to put in, and we'll get in there on game day.
Has anything changed in your training since your last competition, kind of prepping for this, or has there been any, you know, did you recognize any particular weakness in the last match that you had, and or has there just been some other just weaknesses that you've been working on, or has there been anything in particular changed about your training?
Changed about it? Well, I mean, when the pinky thing happened, the main thing that I do is I do a guard that requires grip here. And in training, I've had to tape these two fingers together so this finger isn't left alone. So I'm kind of gripping with these fingers.
Right.
So I haven't been using a lot of my main game during the past, like the initial few weeks of this injury, because I couldn't grip well with this. But after a few weeks where it's gotten better, I feel like my grip with these three fingers has gotten better, because now I've been playing my main game just with these three fingers, and it's been going well. So I'm still training the way, or I'm still improving upon what I was doing in terms of the game, but I'm adding a few things in. And once I'm able to take this off, I think I should be able to take this off when Worlds comes. I think it'll be like taking off a cast or a restraint, even though it's just on my pinky. But it makes a big difference. So yeah, I've just been improving upon what I've been doing in terms of my guard, consistently drilling that, working with bigger opponents, and I don't take breaks on sparring sessions. That's a big thing. Like we'll have 7 or 8 sparring sessions, and you can rest in between, but I just don't take breaks because I want my cardio to be where it is or needs to be when tournament day comes to, and I'm confident in that also. So
cool. And then will anything change with your lifting? You know, as you get closer, like will you take like a week off of lifting, or just a couple days, or how will that work?
I'm not going to take like a week off or anything. I'm still going to come in and get some sort of training in. It just won't be as intense. So it'll be like, you know, I'll still do some big movements, but it just won't be as heavy. But I still want to get blood flowing and, you know, muscles moving. I don't think it's necessary to have to take off of lifting altogether. It doesn't make that big of a difference in terms of recovery. If anything, it's just going to help me to feel better when I do have to compete. So no, I'm not going to stop, but I will lighten up some of my loads, and the training session will be a little bit easier than it usually is.
Did you say it was like in Long Beach or something like that?
SoCal. So yeah, Long Beach.
Yeah.
It's in Long
and
Beach.
then is your girlfriend going with you, or you have teammates going with you, or something like that?
No, she's going to be here. I'm going to be going on my own. So yeah, I said I'm going to be going on my own.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
What about your coach or anybody like that? Anybody from the gym?
No, I don't know anyone else who's competing at Worlds this year. I think there were a few guys competed last year, but no one's going to be competing this year in blue belt or any other belts other than me, I think. So yeah, I'm gonna lone wolf it.
Fuck, man, we'll have to go down and see him, dude.
I was just thinking, I mean, if you can get me down there, I'll film, cover the whole thing.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll talk about that, but
We'll see. But yeah.
Hell yeah. That's awesome. I'm super excited for you, man. I think it's cool.
Me too.
Brutal. Jiu-jitsu's brutal.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we've talked about your pinky on the podcast. What's going on with that?
He tried to shove it up his butt, and it didn't work out.
That happened. Luckily, it did work out. But what actually happened that night was I was rolling with somebody, and the tendon tore in here. So there's a picture on my Instagram of like the pinky was like stuck in this position. It's called mallet finger. It used to be that if I took this off, the pinky would revert back and it would bend, and I couldn't bend it back. But now it's staying where it is. So now I can like bend it a little
There
bit.
you go.
Yeah, I can bend it a little bit and it's not going back. And it should be fully healed, but I still have to keep this on when I roll for now. And yeah, there it is. It was literally stuck in that position. I tried to lift it up and it wouldn't lift up. So yeah, it's a little bit painful right now, but it'll be where it needs to be when I compete. So
how has your body weight been? Because it does look like you're getting leaner, but you're staying a similar body weight.
yeah, man, it's I'm right now. I got my DEXA scan gun, and apparently I'm 7.8%, and I would have not expected to be in the single digits.
93% full of shit, ladies and gentlemen.
I wouldn't have expected to be this lean and this heavy. Like this, the last time I was close to this lean was when I was getting ready for my bodybuilding show. And I did get leaner than I am now, but I was much lighter. So that in itself is a show that, even like since then I've managed to put on a good amount of muscle. But I'm also maintaining that muscle while being lean and performing really
You're
well
still
on the
like
mats.
240 or something, right?
I just weighed myself before here. I was 247.8.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, 247.8. So
And so I wrote on your Instagram, like, don't lose too much weight.
yeah, I'm really not trying to
great.
let myself get underneath 240. I'm not going to get underneath 240. There's no reason for that. But I am really happy because like one of my big goals was to be able to maintain a lean physique, be strong, and be able to perform at the way I want to perform. Because when I used this lean in the past, I felt tired and sluggish. My libido was tanked. Everything was bad. But I feel perfectly healthy right now.
Great.
And I think I think the fasting stuff has a lot to do with it. There's no research on it, but it really does make a difference for me personally. So yeah, it's doing well.
Well, I think the fasting, we've talked about it many times on the podcast, but I think the fasting has just kept you closer to cleaner foods. Not that you were eating garbage before, but you mentioned you'd snack and some things like that. So
I was eating some garbage.
He was eating some garbage.
I was eating some garbage. Yeah. And like, I mean, I'd imagine I'm probably.
See that, Andrew? I kind of pushed his thumbs together almost there at the bottom there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa, where? What are you talking about?
Just when you were doing the front chest pose there.
Yeah. I think like right now, if
And
I
then
were
you see biceps, he brought the forearm up to the bicep.
Yeah. I didn't. I'm kind of surprised still, and it's just going to continue to improve as time goes by. But again, like I've mentioned this in the past, I'm really just like happy and fortunate that I've had the opportunity to be able to obviously go into bodybuilding, train here in terms of powerlifting, and figure out a way to balance it with jiu-jitsu.
You got to do these without shorts next time.
Without shorts on.
Yeah.
Just like do it like that guy.
Jesse Ferguson, yeah.
Yeah. You got a Ferguson it.
Really short trunks.
That's some wide shoulders, dude.
Yeah.
You're off the team again. Sorry.
For fibbing.
At Nsima Inyang.
Yeah.
How do we spell all that?
Nsima Iyang. Nsima Inyang.
Link in the description. Just go from there.
He used to be the natty professor, but something happened, and
I've gotten so.
We're gonna have a special edition on SARMageddon where
he lost followers once he stopped being the natty
Oh,
professor.
really?
Nah, yeah, seriously. Like my following started to go down after I changed my name.
Wow.
But it's okay. Like I've gotten a lot of DMs of people like, "Are you not natty anymore?" I'm like, "No, I just changed my name, my Instagram name, to my actual name."
Shout out to me for this picture.
You look like Dexter Jackson right there, by the way.
That's all photo illusion. I don't look that way in real life.
Let me see.
I didn't Photoshop it. I just took the image. But
yeah, but it's like at an angle. It's
when
wide
I
angle.
took it, I'm like, you look like a Street Fighter character. You look like a Kuma about to just go nuts on somebody.
You do look insane right there.
But the funny thing about like social media rules, you'll see it everywhere. If you have natty in your name on social media, you're automatically not natty, but what everybody says.
Yeah, well, I mean, because you're painting a target on your back.
Exactly. So that's why I changed my name, because I'm like, okay, I don't want everybody to just like, only think about that. I want them to just take in the content and learn something from it. So I'm gonna change my name to my name.
Yeah, and it's also if I put the natty whatever, people are just gonna think like, oh, he's just upset that everyone is bigger than him. When you do it, they're just like, well, clearly he's on.
Clearly he's on, and he's trying to scream and act like he's not. So I changed it to my name so I can let go of the drama.
I'm happy you changed it though, because
it
just seemed like it was bugging you for a little bit.
It's just I don't want people to focus on the nattiness.
Yeah.
Even though I am, but like I don't want you to focus.
Oh, wait, you are?
Yeah.
Oh,
Go
shit.
to go to Dexter Jackson's Instagram. You got to see this picture of him.
You know what's funny?
It's
actually?
my Olympia 08. Or Mr. Olympia 08. Mr. Olympia 08 is his IG.
Let me know which one.
Jesus, yeah.
To the left with the pad on. Go down more. To the left.
This one?
Yep.
Dexter Jackson's insane.
Look at how fucking jacked.
Yeah.
He's like
When you said that.
mesmerized.
Yeah.
Well, look at the like the bicep brachialis. You know,
Yeah, man.
what's in between the bicep and the tricep.
Is that this guy right here?
Yeah,
Yep.
that's awesome.
The development is just insane. And he's like 48, I'm pretty sure.
He might even be older than that.
Yeah, he's always the
So listen to how funny this is. So I'm in Paris. I'm with my wife. We're in like this lounge, right? And I check out this picture of Dexter Jackson. I just go, fuck. I was like, he's so jacked. And I show my wife and I go, fuck, I wish I was black. And I swear to God, before I was done with my sentence, she goes, yeah, I know. I was like, I'm not even going to say it. Like, I totally set myself up for that. You should have seen her face, though. She was so happy. She's like, yeah, I know. I was like, oh, man.
She's like, that'd be great.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, fuck, I wish I was black.
Oh, man.
Dude. Oh, look at his forearm. Looks like he's like implanted a baby in his arm.
I love that he's just chilling. That's a cool thing. Is like he's probably
Dude.
just, I don't know, he just always looks like that.
He does.
Shit.
Freak. We got to have him on the podcast.
Yeah.
He'd be
Right.
down.
Goodness.
At
Yeah.
least I hope he'd be. But
Yeah.
he's another one of those individuals like, oh, whatever, he's on or whatever, but he's been lifting for such a long time. Like he's still been at it. He looks great. It doesn't seem like he gets hurt, you know?
Oh man. Just looking at these pictures at Golds and the people that we like either had on the podcast or just recognized. It's
Mhm.
kind of funny. I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
weird.
Everyone should add bodybuilding into their training. That's just it. You should just do it.
Yeah, that's one takeaway from today's podcast for sure.
Hell yeah. And we're going to have Charles Glass on the podcast coming up soon. I'm super excited about that. Tomorrow will be Meg Squats, even though it might not fall in line chronologically or whatever. But we're out of here. Strength is never a weakness. Weakness is never a strength. Catch you guys later.